So let's talk about mental health and what's going on in society with young adults and adults.
Okay. Where you want to begin? That's a very broad topic. So
It is very broad, isn't it? Broad questions too. Like we're sitting on the couch talking to you, but they're giving me questions that we can't really discuss just about answering some questions, and it just wasn't right.
mhm.
I think the one thing they worried about is mental health in adults has in their family. Um, they know they got mental health issues and they're dealing with it, but some of them get so frustrated just dealing with it on a daily basis.
Mhm.
So I guess the question is not mental health in the family, it's the person taking care of that person with mental health.
Mhm.
If I could sum it up, that's what I'm getting at, what the question is.
Mm. Well, I mean, taking care of anybody with a health issue, be it mental health or physical health, it's contingent on having a licensed professional giving you the guidance, the treatment model, and if medication is involved, then following that prescription and given time for the adequate load to kick in. A lot of times, I talk in case of adolescents, a lot of times parents take their kids off medication because they don't like the effect when they should possibly be uh, adjusting the dosage, adjusting the type of medication, and also gone through a correct diagnosis process. I mean, there's supposed to be a type of brain scan. I don't know if it's an MRI. I forget the exact one. I know that when we diagnose teens with or kids with ADHD, it's usually a evaluation that's done in the school, observation rather in the school, and then then we go on and have a brain scan done to check for the hyperactivity in the brain. And there's a place in Michigan we used to send kids to have that evaluation done to see do a brain scan to see what type of hyperactivity is going on, and it's obvious when a child has hyperactivity or ADHD versus it just being a behavior issue or a diet issue or a lack of sleep issue or a classroom management issue. And that's why observations are key. That's why brain scans are key. But the main point is you making sure that you've had an actual diagnosis, a due process, so to speak, of evaluation from a licensed professional, and then following up and coordinating with the licensed professional based on what you see. When you're trying to wing it on your own, and that's what a lot of us have had to do for so many years. We listen to grandma, we listen to auntie, or whatever. And some of those home remedies, they may have an effect, but we've heard the sayings, right? Back in the day, I just put some tussin on it, Robitussin, right? Robitussin, like Chris Rock used to say, that's what the solution for everything was. And that's because we didn't have access to quality healthcare, couldn't afford it. And a lot of times we didn't trust it, right? But we've kind of got to get past that. We've got to make sure that we have, and a lot of people talk about the Affordable Health Care Act, or they call it, Obamacare. But a lot of people talking about it, they benefiting from it because they have access to quality, some quality medical care now, and we just need to take advantage of it, and be proactive as much as possible in mitigating, some of these risks that are affecting our community. And we've got some serious ones that affect people of color, but we've got a lot of issues that are being addressed or need to be addressed. Heart disease, cancers. Now we got this monkeypox, stuff that's going out. We've got so many things that we need to be at least aware of what's going on out here, and then actually getting quality healthcare. But I mean, that's all over the board. But in terms of mental health, it's a part of your health. A lot of people separate mental health from physical health, and it's all health, right? It's all a part of the body, and it all needs to be looked at, evaluated. If a person feels that another person has or a family member has a mental health issue, then they need to, have that person screened and evaluated to see what's going on,
Yeah, that is a lot going on right there when we talk about that. Also, I was talking to somebody yesterday, I bold, and they were talking about a friend of theirs. Never had nothing wrong with him until he had back surgery. When he had back surgery, then the problem started because he got hooked on some drugs, the drugs they give you, and he was hooked on it, and he OD'd from that right there. And they tried intervention with him, but he said there was nothing wrong with him. But the doctors kept on feeding them the medication.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a huge problem right now with painkillers. I think they call them oxy. I forget what it's called, but where people are dying. It's an epidemic actually right now going on. Where fentanyl. I mean, we know we've lost some greats, Michael Jackson, the fentanyl. Forget the drug that Prince was taking when he passed away, right? I think there were pills. I think that was the oxy pills or whatever. But there's always a risk of when you start taking medications that knowing how medications work, the dosage a lot of times, if your body builds up a tolerance towards it, so you usually need more and a higher dose if it's a chronic issue at sometimes with folks. So you also have to look at those side effects, right? Sometimes there's warnings that come along with some of this medication that it could be, one of the side effects could be addiction, right? So you really have to be. That's why you really have to be cognizant to and pay attention to your doctors and be honest about the results and things that are happening. If you're feeling like and you need to be monitored by a doctor, right? And if the doctor is prescribing one thing and then you go into another doctor, to get the medication that the other doctors, saying, that's a problem, right? You just have to really, with medicine, you have to really monitor that. You don't just take the dose and just forget about it indefinitely. I take medications for some of the issues I have, and I regularly talk about how the medication makes me feel. If I feel that, maybe the result is not what I want it to be, then we talk about it. We adjust the dosage, we adjust the frequency, the time of day you take it. I mean, you have to be active in your role and at least communicating with the doctor so they can make adjustments.
Just like my middle child, he's got asthma. But talking about medicine and stuff, the doctor, I was telling the doctor how he was feeling, and the doctor turned around and told me that I didn't know what an asthma attack was. So I told her services is no longer needed. So we got up, we walked out, went to another doctor, gave him all the medicine my son was taking. He said, well, what we're going to do now, we're going to go cold turkey. We can see what works, what don't work. He went from taking 7 different types of medications to 2. And with no side effects, no nothing. So I think that we as parents or caregivers, we need to look at that. I mean, we know how that person is and how they act and react. And if they're in a zombie state, then, I'm no professional, but to me, that's over-medicated.
Yeah, well, I mean, that needs to be communicated. You got to understand it's called the practice of medicine for a reason. Yeah. It's just higher levels of practice. And it's contingent on no doctor knows for sure exactly what should happen during a particular medication. I mean, it's the practice of medicine. And that's what they usually say. If you notice any adverse effects, contact your doctor, right? So that they can adjust and make changes. But it's some doctors have better bedside manners than others. I mean, some especially if you go to an emergency room, a lot of these doctors are dealing with 10, 15 patients at a time. They come in, they're looking right at the symptoms. They don't really, have time to do the courtesies and all that type of stuff. And they, going based on what they know and what they think they know. But you've got an advantage when you are the person receiving the medication because you know how it's affecting you. And if you're getting some adverse effects, I mean, you've seen those commercials with medication. They say what the medication is, and then right before the commercial goes off, you hear that disclaimer of all the stuff. It's like, dang, I'd rather have the disease than what could happen if the medication goes wrong. Right.
What's funny about that, you said disclaimers at the end. It tells you they have suicidal tendencies or death. And I'm saying, so you want me to take this medication?
Listen.
But they have to do that.
Listen.
Disclaimer, if it happens, they're not responsible, basically.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, with me being a therapist, I try to do the most non-invasive methods possible to help deal with a situation. Like, I do think that in some cases, we can be over medicated, right? Medication should not be the first go-to, especially for things like hyperactivity. I use that just as another example. A lot of times the kid just needs to be more active, and this, needs to be out there in sports and doing other things. And to medicate a child because they're acting out, it might be a classroom management issue, right? It could be that the kid is drinking Mountain Dew 3 times a day, which I've seen happen. And of course, they're going to be hyperactivity because they're hyped up on sugar, right? If the kid is playing games to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and you don't know it, I really think that, and I'm going to be stepping on a few people's toes, but a child doesn't need a video game system in their bedroom. Because what do you think is going to happen? Middle of the night, they probably get up and they're playing the game and you think they're asleep. Not so, and then they're half asleep during the day, not able to focus, and that mimics, sometimes hyperactivity. So, diet, there's a lot of different things, activity, your child's natural, personality. If you're a hyper person, your kid might be hyper too, right? But how do we deal with it? We were outside running up and down the street, playing all day, playing basketball, doing what we wanted to do, playing football, touch football in the street, dodging people and cars. You know what I'm saying? To play. You remember when the watch out would forget to tell you that the car was coming? Yeah. So, it's just stuff like that. We just have to get back to being a little more active, not sitting around just playing video games all day, all night. I'm speaking to myself sometimes, playing this game. I'm looking at my treadmill now, laughing at me like hypocrite. I'm not on there. I'm not on there as much as I used to be, at least there's no clothes hanging from my treadmill, but but we need to be more active, and doing what we need to do. And that can help to alleviate some of the need for medication, right? The body is designed to be used. And if you don't, then a whole lot of problems, can come about because of that.
I was reading an article the other day. It was very interesting. They were talking about entitled people and entitled kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it all started off with sports. If Joey didn't make the team, Joey wasn't good enough. When we did that, we tried out for baseball, basketball, whatever. We got clapped. That was just a fact of life. But now they want to give each kid a trophy for participating, each kid this, each kid that. So what's happening, they saying, we raise entitled kids because they felt that they should get everything handed to them without working for it. Now, if you didn't make the team this year, then you need to practice next year. And the deal was, they didn't practice, they knew they were getting something. So that was a good article on what they said entitlement really came from with kids. And now everybody who participated got the same trophy. Even the best kid got the same trophy across the board. And Little League is like that now. So all these leagues, everybody gets the same thing. No matter if you're good or bad, it doesn't make a difference.
Well, I understand possibly why they started with, some of this stuff, the helping kids feel better, right? That's not really a bad instinct, but how it plays out, I think, has had an effect on, kids feeling like I should just get something because I'm here, right? I should just get something because I showed up. And I don't know if I agree necessarily with that either, Um, we have to find a way to kind of, give kids worth outside of sports because of what they do. A child should be appreciated and loved for just being a child, but also when a child goes over and beyond, they need to be rewarded for going over and beyond in a particular area. And that gives a person an indication of maybe this is a talent for you. This is maybe an area where you have some potential that you need to cultivate. So I do have a problem with giving the kids that have cultivated their talent, are naturally talented in a particular area, the same accolade as somebody that has, really not done any work and just showed up. You know, I think that we gotta change that. But I do believe that we can reward. Every child has something that they if they work at it, they're good at, or have some type of interest. And I think that's the parent's job to kind of study your child and encourage them in the ways that your child is developing. The same thing for Joey may not be the same thing for Johnny, right? You may have a kid that's more interested. I remember years ago, I dated this lady that had a child that was interested in music and dance and all this other stuff, but she wanted her child to become a professional athlete. And professional traditional sports like basketball, football, and all that. And I was looking at this kid and I was like, he's gonna get killed if he goes out for football. He was a little skinny kid. He wasn't, it's kind of, how could I put this? He had, he was presenting with more feminine traits. And mom was trying to make him into something that he was obviously not presenting as. And I was looking at it and he started hating the sport. So he would intentionally go and mess up, so that he wouldn't even try. He would try to do a layup and throw the ball straight up. He didn't care. He wasn't trying to do that. So I think there was a wasted opportunity for that young man to, become maybe what he was. Maybe he was supposed to be dancing with, Alvin Ailey. I don't know. But I just saw that and I was just like, oof. You're not paying attention to your child at all. You're trying to make your child into something that he's not presenting as, and how's that going to work out? So, we just have to be careful that we don't, and you see the parents at the games that you think they out on the field, the way they're yelling and hollering and forcing their kid to, push themselves beyond limits. And I don't know. It's something you have to watch. Pay attention to your kids, pay attention to what their interests are, and their interests may not be the same as your interests. Right?
Yeah, you brought the point there. I was coaching Little League, and my son, he was a natural baseball player. I mean, he was great, natural. I'm not saying it because he was my son, but he was gifted. But guess what? He didn't want to play it. I did not push him. Do what he wanted to do, because some parents want to live their life through their kids, and I didn't want to do that. And at the same token, there was this young lady when I was coaching. She walked out in the middle of the field and stood right there and said, "I want my boy to play. I want my boy to play." Well, the summing up in the Reader Digest verse was, he never showed up to practice. He showed up to games late. But the rule was the kid had to play at least 3 innings. So he went in the bottom of the 3rd inning or top of the 3rd, whatever it was. He played, and sometimes the rotation, the way it was, he didn't bat. So she got upset. So they had to physically remove her off the field. So we talked later on, and I said, it isn't that we're not trying to show your kid. He doesn't show up. And he doesn't want to play. When he's out in the field, he's picking flowers. He can care less about playing. And I said, if you ever come to practice or bring him, you will see it yourself. So what does she do? She decides to come to practice and bring him there. 2 games later, she pulled and said, "You really don't want to play." That's what we try to tell him.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have to communicate with your child, right? And what you envision and what you think may not be what your child is thinking, and you see it all the time, a lot of educators, but they know that their parents don't want to hear it. I played football, my son's going to play football. I played basketball, my child's going to play basketball. Sometimes the kids try to, adhere and live up to that. And sometimes they excel at it. Reality is sometimes they don't, and you have to accept that and look for what your child is interested in and try to cultivate, what they're interested in. And I think you have a better outcome, better result with that, and the most important thing is your child knows that you're listening to them, right? And that you're concerned about them. And that's the main jewel, is that you're communicating with your child, you're showing interest in trying to help them figure out what they want to excel at. And, that's the key. You don't have to always get it right, but you have to at least be concerned enough to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
I will touch on again about entitlement of kids. And now we have grown adults who was raised with that entitlement issue.
Yeah.
And it's just not black and white. I found out by going around and seeing people reaction to things. To me, it's a crisis, because people jump up and I watched this one lady turn around, cut in front of everybody. Her excuse was, I'm in a hurry, so I need to get it now. Oh, you talking about almost a fight breaking out. You just don't jump up front and think you go ahead and do it. Well, I'm in a hurry. You don't know what I do. I said, you don't know what I do. I think we touched base on that a couple of weeks ago, is when you never know the state of mind of that person who you cut off or cut in front of. Because a lot of stuff may happen that you may not be around tomorrow.
Road rage is a thing, right?
Yeah.
It is a real issue. We've got a lot of people that are wound up too tight, and maybe they don't even need to be behind the wheel of a vehicle, right? And I see kids all the time weaving in and out of traffic, just to end up right next to me. Before that. Yeah, you look at these guys like, okay, so you just pulled out this Evel Knievel. A lot of people don't even know who Evel Knievel is. So this stunt man, action, and you are right next to me. So how did that work out for you? You didn't think about the invention of the stoplight. You're gonna have to stop. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
Or there's a traffic jam up there. This happened just last week. This guy had to be doing all the 90 to 100 miles an hour, and then there was an accident right up the road. So he ended up having to stop and wait, just like everybody else. And this car was it stopping, actually, I think it was Saturday. This car was demolished, right? And they had to, it's bad when the road people have to come out and put the signs up on the back of the truck to route the traffic left, because they're going to have to, clean up the street and remove the vehicle and get people medical attention. And it's like, then right after they get past, they shoot off again. It's like, wow, these people, that could have been you in that accident right there. You know what I'm saying? It's like some people don't even catch it, so we got a lot of issues, man. People, the way they drive, how they drive, especially here in San Antonio, God bless us. We got some interesting folks, the way they drive here, right? So got to be careful.
And miles down the road, they pulled up by the police. I just look at it, see, was it that big of a hurry? So you got to pay.
I love when that happens, man. I love when they get pulled over. I just encourage law enforcement to be more aggressive in terms of here in San Antonio to catch these folks that are driving. Then also, what's up with the vehicles that just putting everything in the back of the truck and getting on the highway? I'm so tired of it. I saw a full lazy boy chair on the side of the road with the feet out, like somebody was laying on it, this happens on a regular basis, man. I mean, you really could probably furnish your house with you might not want the equipment, the furniture, but if you drive around San Antonio, side of the road, you could probably furnish a whole house with what is on the side of the roads, out here. I don't know what I saw a couple of weeks ago when we went to Padre Island, saw a guy who had a refrigerator and an oven on the back of some truck or trailer, and the oven had fallen off the back, and he was trying to restrap the refrigerator down. It's like, dude, you just lost the oven. Maybe you don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, pay attention. And you drove down the highway seeing people holding stuff on trucks. I know they're just trying to make it. They're just trying to get it, but we gotta do some better stuff safety wise, man. It's like an obstacle course out here, and I don't know what the police, are doing, but maybe we need to get them to start pulling some of these people over and ticketing them and say, hey, this isn't safe for the road. You need to for the highway. It really ain't even safe to drive on the service drive to the street. Some of this stuff that I see riding around out here, but you really
the biggest thing I see, I don't know where the mental state is at on this one, is when I see a car going down the road with a mattress on top of it. You got two people on the passenger side, driver's side, got their hands up there, holding the mattress down, and it's flopping all up and down. Don't you know if that thing fly off, you may lose a hand?
I have seen that happen right off of 410. When I first got here, somebody had a mattress on top of the car. The wind caught a hold of it, shot straight up, came back, landed on the street, and they thought that was the funniest thing. They got out the car. I was sitting there just watching in shock, because fortunately it didn't. Fortunately, it just flew straight back, and it didn't land on any. There wasn't anybody behind them, but I was in the next lane over, and I'm like, that could have landed on my car. Yeah. And I guarantee you wouldn't have been laughing if it would have landed on my car. You know what I'm saying? It would not have been a ha-ha moment if you got me swerving and putting my family at risk because you are, excuse the expression, a complete idiot, driving down the street and knowing that you don't know anything about physics. But see, it kind of goes back to common sense and education. I mean, we've lost something. Man, I mean, if you talk, it don't take you long to talk and drive around and see people and you go, man, don't they know better? And do they have any common sense? Look, we talk about it all the time. Common sense is no longer common. It hasn't been common for a long time. And, I don't know how you don't really teach that in class, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in sports. If you're not good at a particular sport, it's okay to tell you, hey, you didn't make the team this time. You're going to have to do some work and maybe you'll make it. That's common sense. We're teaching common sense on certain things. I knew that football was not going to be for me. I made it to first string safety, first string wide receiver. And when I hit somebody and they hit me and I had to wake up a few minutes later and they had to wake up a few minutes later, I said, I'm getting my scholarship another way. This is not what I'm going to do. We didn't have them high tech, helmets they have now. We had that little strap in the middle, the little thing at the top, the one in the back, and the rest is just all your head and a little piece of plastic. You know what I'm saying? So, you had to learn how to think, and unfortunately, when you shelter people from reality, then whatever they deem as reality is kind of what reality is to them, right? And it may not be reality to all of us. So, we can look at the news, we can look at all these things going on in the world now to see how people have been sheltered from reality and they want to create their own reality. And then other people are crazy enough to support their distorted view of reality. Look at what we have going on right now. It all goes back to, we can talk about politics. I never thought I'd be looking at the news feeds and talking about talking about Trump, this decision to allow this master to be, ridiculous. That's his own party, right?
Yeah.
And that William Barr, right? That's his name. is now putting this judge's, decision, a judge, saying that the decision was deeply flawed. And then the judge was appointed by Trump. Like, how does this even happen? In today's society, like the man, how do you even? I've never even heard of a special master in a court process. You do a crime, you get indicted. A judge actually had to sign off for the warrant, and now they get a special master to review the documents. You review the documents before the trial, right? That's how that works. Here's what we have. Why did they release the statement, right? Why did they release all these redacted, what do you call it? Redacted, comments. Aren't they reviewing it then? What it's not, so it's obviously not reviewing what they have. It's trying to manipulate what they have. And this judge is willing to fall on the spear or fall on the sword, fall on whatever you want to call it, and completely damage her career, and her legacy. Or maybe she wants that to be a part of her legacy. She's trying to protect, because she's a part of the Federalist Society, her who she wants to be not convicted of something that's completely egregious. I mean, I don't understand why this man is walking around free right now. I don't. Top secret documents have possibly been sold. And in what world do we live in where there can be any excuse for any of that? We're not living in reality. We've got a completely entitled person that felt like he can do whatever he wants. And then we have a society that's allowing him to live in this delusional, entitled world. And what message does it send? I mean, what message does that send to other people that come from wealthy parents, that if I have money, if I am of a certain pigmentation, I can get away with anything? And that's why Karens are getting their heads knocked off, because they run past somebody like me or you, and they think they're going to get away with calling us a certain thing or acting a certain way, and they're going to get checked. A reality check. And if you don't have enough money to protect yourself, and maybe that's the issue, too many people are getting reality checks and they don't like it, because they used to be able to just say what they want, do what they want, and get away with it. And that's what I'm looking at. It's like, uh-oh, how many more Karens or how many Trumps are going to come out of this current situation? Because they're seeing the unspoken script here. If I can convince enough people of my version of reality, then I can live in this version of reality. But it's not reality. I don't care how delusional. I don't care what you want. That's not reality. You do something like that. You take top secret documents to your house. You go to jail. You get charged. You don't get a special master to review the documents that you shouldn't have had in the first place. What? Where are we at right now? What delusional world are we in? And, I wouldn't be going so hard on this, but I'm thinking about, even if the DOJ decides to appeal this decision, it's going to another conservative court that's going to have to decide that. And then now even the Supreme Court is slanted. So Trump may be crazy, but he wasn't stupid.
Yeah.
Right. He did a lot of things. He was in my day, or they used to call people like that diabolical. Right. And I don't think people realize the world is watching. The country's watching. And look, this ain't going to fly. It's not going to fly. So we do have a problem, and we're going to have to deal with it. Reality check is going to have to kick in at some point. When you have William Barr, I never thought I'd look on the news and see William Barr talking about there was a deeply flawed ruling approving a special master in Trump's document case. This is the same camp fighting amongst itself.
Yeah, exactly.
I've stopped even commenting about it. The only way I'll talk about this is on this show, or possibly on, and we're going to announce it, the podcast, or not the podcast, the YouTube channel. We will get into a lot of this where we have gone completely off the rails. And I don't think people are connecting the dots fast enough, to what's going on. This delusional state has some correlations that are very dangerous, right? The wrong questions seem to be asked right now. I want to know where those documents are that are missing and what happened to them.
Yeah.
Were they sold? And where were they sold to? Right.
And the other ones, they make copies of the other ones that they seized.
Yeah. So, we've got a lot of interesting things to get into, but on the mental health thing, I want to thank everybody to send any questions, but let's try to narrow them down a little bit better, right? We can talk about a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things in terms of mental health that I would love to talk about. But let's just narrow it down to some specific questions that we can answer in a specific way. I'm not going to diagnose anybody on the air. I'm not not doing anything like that. But we can talk about some general topics and some general awareness type things. And if not, we're going to start putting some things forward. But before I forget, I told this gentleman I would mention him during the talk show. His name is the place is Freddy's Barbecue, famous. Let me say this correctly, Freddy's Famous Barbecue. And what I like about this guy, man, is he's got some healthy choices. The brisket was amazing, but if you don't want to eat red meat, he's got some amazing chicken dishes, some amazing meals. And I guess his number, I put that on there. It's 210-501-8735. I like eating good food, but I like to eat healthy food too. And it really warmed my heart that I could go up there and get some good, because it was smelling good, man. I was at a karaoke spot and I wanted to get up there and I was trying to do right. And I was so happy that I could get a chicken dish, and it was just as good as the brisket. I did try the brisket, but and that was phenomenal. But everything else was good too.
Make sure you send me that.
Yeah.
So we can set up.
Yeah, and he's offered to when we start getting out of the community and doing some shows, he's offered to come out and provide the food for some of that. And also, and he's a business owner, so he definitely and he's good at what he does. I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Karaoke Didi and the show that we got going at Basie Seafood and Soul Food Restaurant tonight from 8 to 11 at Valley High Drive Suite 103, San Antonio, Texas. It gets Basie Seafood and Soul Food Restaurant on 410 Valley High Drive Suite 103 in San Antonio, right by Lackland. Going to be some good times out there. Looking forward to seeing people out, and it's good to fellowship. It's good to communicate and talk, and it's good to just relax and enjoy some good music, good times with good folks. So, everybody should come on out.
Now,
what's that?
When they go to a horrific scene and they have to go out and talk to them. But it is, how long does that stay in your mind, and how do you detox? How does a person function after seeing something like that? They want to know, what do y'all go through emotionally?
Well, most therapists like myself that go on, I was trying to pull up the pictures because you already know where I was at last week. And I think we saw in the show, I actually went to Uvalde, and special shout out to the Uvalde area, the kids I'm so proud of that are showing amazing resilience, and that you touch my heart to see a young man that had some of his peers on a t-shirt that had been killed, and he's got a smile on the face, and he's ready to go on back to school. He's like, this is not going to stop me. Everybody's dealing with it differently, but I want to give a shout out to the resiliency that I've seen to some of the folks. I can't say the name, I can't say the organization through patient confidentiality or confidentiality. But there's, for me, when I go to a scene like that, you have to compartmentalize your emotions and try to be a help to them, the people that you're servicing, to kind of let them know what the grieving process is and try to find a silver lining and the help. But when I went to Uvalde, I was very impressed with the resilience that I saw in the children first, to the way the community is coming together and the resources that are trying to be allocated and come to that community. In the worst time, sometimes, you get to see some of the best of our nature coming together, pulling together, trying to support and love each other. And that's what I saw when I went to Uvalde. But I also did go to Robb Elementary, and it's beyond words. It's one thing to see it on TV, but to see it in person, it really affected me. To know that this is where this happened, that we had a break in our society, and it was real. Then also there was a dog that was across the street from where I was at, and he had a teddy bear next to him. And I just sat there, and it really dawned on me about what that symbolism meant to me, and knowing, the sensibility and the scent that dogs have, and just what ran through my mind at that time. And I think, I don't know if I could show it. I'm trying to pull my pictures up here, and they don't seem to be. I'm telling you, technical difficulties are plaguing us today, Ron. But I'm gonna try if I can show it on my phone here. Since we can do it that way. I'm not gonna let technical difficulties get me. So this is Robb Elementary here when I was there.
Yes.
Right. So everybody's seen that shot, I'm sure, on national news, but I was there. And that's, I'm gonna show you some shots that maybe people don't see. And there's me there, and trying not to taking all this in. But here's the part, man. So this block, people don't realize that this actually goes on for like a block. See, people don't see that, right? But here's the part that got me. A sign that says a ban on all assault rifles.
Yeah.
Right? We've been talking about that right here on the show, right? And here's another shot of that, and still more flowers and whatnot. But there's the sign, a ban on assault rifles.
Yeah.
But let me show you the part that really got me, man. Now, this is right across the street. See him? It's a dog there. And then there's a teddy bear. Okay, I got another shot of him. I don't know if you can see him.
Yeah.
Teddy bear, and there's a dog, right? Let's see if I can zoom in. He was sitting right there like he was waiting for somebody to come out of that school.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about, and you can still see the memorial across the street. You can see there's across the street there. Oh, wow, what is that doing? 2 pictures in one now. Talk about technology acting up. Now, this has never happened before. You see, there's 2 pictures in one. When does that ever happen? What in the world is going on in here, man? Now I can't find the picture. Let me see here. This is another one too I want to show you. So there was a flag toward the end of the memorial.
Yeah.
And look at it, man. It looks like the color is running. I thought that was so symbolic to me. That the red was running over onto the white, and that the flag, it was just kind of, it looks like it was kind of just dingy and damaged. And I think that's very symbolic of what was going on, man.
Yeah.
Then of course, this just takes your breath away, man. So, but that dog, Then the prayers for Uvalde, right, signed. That was toward the end. But, you know, the world is watching, man. And the world is watching. That, and we get a picture, another shot of that dog. Okay, so here it is. So the dog, you can see across the street, you see the memorial, see the teddy bear sitting right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that shot right there, I'll forever keep with me. It just shows, man. I mean, the dog has more sense than some people. And the thought that hit me is like, man, what if that dog was connected to some of the children or one of the children that were in there? And he's looking for him to come out of, or her to come out of school, you know? And it breaks your heart, man. So the way we deal with it is knowing that, I think for me is that hopefully we're pushing for healing, right? We're showing concern that folks care. We're trying to help people understand that you can't control what happens, but you can always control how you respond. And try to and then what we have to do is when we get home, we have to unpack, right? We have to unpack this. We can't hold on to it. So you have to have some serious self-maintenance things. So I do a lot of meditation. I have like the Calm app. And when I go and I just need to be left alone, I just go and I unwind. I have a strong spiritual foundation. Then I have like things like karaoke. I have things like good friends I talk to, communicate with. But you know, everybody has to deal with it kind of in their own way. And then also the frequency. You know, it's not something that I can do every day because it is completely draining. It's exhausting. And then, you know, I do things like this to try to push for change and awareness so that things like this don't happen again. That's how I deal with it. I know other colleagues. I met another therapist down there. It's interesting. We kind of had the same perspective on a lot of different things, and I had never met him before. But we understand the delusional mindset and what's happening in the result of it. So,
yeah.
So that's what we do. So that's what I do. I can't speak to everybody else, but I've been doing that for quite a few years. And, you know, one of my specialties is try to get people laughing. And when I can make a child laugh that has gone through something like that, that just gives me an immense amount of joy just beyond words and more than whatever I'm getting paid. You know, when I can put a smile on their face, when, you know, and I've talked to people that had family members children that were in there, that some of them survived, that had survived that. You know, it puts a real face on what we talk about. And then to be able to make them smile, have them begin the healing process, or just play a small part of the healing process, then that is worth everything. It makes it all worth it, you know. So
all right, Joseph, we appreciate everything and everybody. We're sorry for the technical difficulties that we're having, but we will air this right away. I'm gonna edit as fast as I can, get it right back out there again, because some say they couldn't hear the sound, some said they could. So we will work on this. We have a whole week to work on this to make sure this is where it should be at.
outstanding.
I appreciate your patience and your time today, and we'll check with you later on.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Bye-bye.